Yo, 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 it's ODB from OLP. This is episode 374. I want to give a huge shout out to our title sponsor, Scrapin' the Coast, every June in Biloxi. Huge shout out to the team there. Of course, that show is inducted into the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. It's one of our favorite shows, biggest and baddest, arguably, in the country. Come on out every June and join in with us in Biloxi at Scrapin' the Coast. So, this episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've got the night version of my studio going on here. I did turn off the lights, and I want to do a lights out episode that is potentially going to be one of our shortest episodes ever. I talked to all of the listeners on the last episode. I believe I incorrectly said it was episode 374. This is actually episode 374. The last one was 373. And I mentioned that we're going to have more of a limited scope, get right to the point, cover the topic at hand. And there's no hotter topic right now in our truck scene than last Friday. So I'm going to talk about that here with Krew Kut. I want to go through the history of it. And I wanted to do this over the weekend, being that the fight was on Friday. I really just didn't have the time. So I'm getting to it now. Huge shout out to Jameel. He tagged me in a post earlier. A content creator created something about Krew Kut, and of course he used some of my content, and I don't think he credited me, but that's just the way it goes with these quote content creators these days, I guess. But I want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors. I'm usually not going to rattle all these off, but I do want to mention Mini Nats, one of our key sponsors and partners. They are continuing to send out those pre-reg. I don't think they've all been sent yet, so just kind of hang tight. We really appreciate all of the support for this amazing show. Although I'm not directly tied in, I always tell Jason Bell, thanks for what you do for the mini truck community. We hope to see you out there at the last weekend in April 2025. Now, this episode overview, basically, I am going to talk about Krew Kut. Okay. So, what I want to do is give everyone the bullet pointed history on this famed truck, arguably the most recognized truck out of our truck scene. Now, I'm sure a lot of people could kind of claim, hey, this is, their truck scene, or was it born out of the sport truck era, and those type of things. But I will tell you, Rob Maggi, who owned it, if you think back to all of what they were doing, it was based upon everything that was culminating out of the mini truck scene. So I want to hit upon that. And tip of the cap to Rob Maggi. He doesn't get the credit that he's due, in my opinion, although he is inducted into the Mini Truck Hall of Fame with his company, Master Image Customs. Rob certainly, you didn't hear his name, and you typically don't. But you know what? The cool thing about Rob is he doesn't even mind. He's out living his life, and he's having a good time. So I do want to reinforce a couple of key items. But the overview is brought to you by Hammered Weekend Wear. I talk about them typically every episode, but they did a recent pre-sale, and they have their open enrollment for 2025. If you buy in now at the reduced price, you'll get every design automatically sent to you in 2025. So hit up Hammered, that's HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. Okay, so a quick trivia, and then let's get into Krew Kut. This is for all of the listeners out there. How many covers did Krew Kut appear on? Okay, kind of a trick question. Now, if you stick with me to the end of this video, I am going to give you a couple of fun facts. One will tie into that trivia question that many of you probably wouldn't maybe include, but the question is, how many covers did Krew Kut? And I'm going to throw this out there along with the moniker Westsyd. Okay, so Westsyd / Krew Kut, how many covers did that truck appear on? Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. And huge shout out to Garage Gear Clothing. I know it's another clothing brand, but they offer free shipping on orders $100 and more. They offer the Garage Gear stuff for the ladies, the kids, the sport trucks, the full sizes, the mini trucks. They got a ton out there at garagegearclothing.com. Okay, so Krew Kut, this is the bullet pointed, okay? And I'm going to do a very condensed version of this for social media, okay? Here's the bullet pointed info for the legendary Krew Kut, which made a cameo at the Logan Paul Mike Tyson fight this past Friday, which was live on Netflix. Now, believe it or not, this was Netflix's first streamed live sporting event, if I recall correctly. I listened to a podcast that talks about sports and business, and they had talked about how this gentleman that hosts it talked about how Netflix obviously really wants to get into that market. That's a huge thing. And you might go, why? Well, if you think about how a lot of us watch television as we know it today, many of us are streaming. New Netflix series comes out, boom, you can binge watch them in, a half a day, right? You probably aren't sitting down to watch the nightly news at a certain time. If you're even watching the news, right? You're recording it, you're watching it at your own time. Kind of think back to TiVo. TiVo was so far ahead of the time, you could kind of skip through the commercials and things like that. That's where Netflix wants to be because there's tons of money in that. How often do you rush to get to the front of the couch, right? Like The Simpsons, to watch an event. And, that's what happened this past weekend. I'll talk about as well how many people viewed this according to one of the key news sources out there. But here's the overview. Okay. In the mid 1990s, Rob Maggi was fresh off his Suburban dually build. Okay. That was known as Time Bomb. Okay. Now I'm going to show, and for the listeners out there, I should have mentioned this. I will have a much better experience if you watch it on YouTube. You can listen too, but watch it on YouTube because I'm going to spend the time and I'm going to put all of the kind of overlays in here. But Time Bomb, for those that don't know, was Rob Maggi's Suburban custom dually. Yes, dually. That was sold overseas. Mike Shartsis shoots that truck talking mid 90s, right? Time Bomb also makes an appearance. I won't go all into that, but Rob Maggi was in a band. He was in a group, rather, is probably a better way to say it. And he's been kind of a lifelong kind of music guy, right? He likes music. I do too. Rob's a good dude. And I can also say that we had Rob on, so that was super cool. But there's a music video out there. I'll try to put a couple clips in there. The Suburban makes an appearance, a cameo in there as well, and it runs on the cover of Truckin. Now, there's technically, for those that don't know, there's two different versions of that cover, one with a lady, a model, if you will, one without, and that's something that I've covered, I think, a short video here on my YouTube channel. Now, as the owner of Master Image Customs, which is known in short as MIC, Rob began building his dually that we're talking about right now, Krew Kut, but it started out as a truck called Westsyd. So Westsyd Connection was kind of the big title in there. Okay. Sean Mahaney was the lead fabricator at MIC. Many of the truck kinfolk know that. All right. It's going to tie into the story. Now, Sean's skills were put to the test in the mid 90s, just as these big 8-lug dually trucks were beginning to be laid flat out on the ground, thanks to folks like Sean Mahaney, Brian Gendro, R Customs. You think about some of these big names, and I know this is 30 years ago, but believe it or not, when Pat Nichols' truck appears on the cover of Mini Truck in January 93, body dropped. That was a huge thing. And, from 93 on, and arguably, 92, late 91, that type of thing, the body drop becomes one of the biggest mods that you can do. And believe it or not, although people were putting hydraulics on vehicles for many, many years, including trucks, especially lowrider guys, if you think back, these body dropped, laid flat on the ground dualies, all that stuff culminated out of the mini truck scene. Okay, that's a fact. So Westsyd Connection, aka I'm just going to call it Westsyd, was shot by, again, Mike Shartsis, okay, working under Prime Media at the time. He shoots Time Bomb, and then boom, Rob goes, hey, I'm working on another one. Here is Mike Shartsis again. That runs on the cover of September 1997 issue. Now, in that issue, they mentioned that Westsyd is a 97 dually. I believe it technically is a 93, if I remember correctly. But that kind of tied into the fact that it was kind of, quote, brand new and things like that. But I believe it is technically a 93. Now, after the success of the truck, Rob hatched an epic plan to rebuild the truck. Okay. Now there's no other media outlet that's covered this truck more. One, because it's a big truck in our scene, but number two, it's well known, but it has an amazing backstory to it. Rest in peace, Sean Mahaney, that's no longer with us. You know, Rob Maggi builds this amazing company, sells it, kind of goes and does his own thing. He gives the truck away, which I'm going to get to, right? But we've covered every aspect of this truck. And I want to just kind of go through and finish these bullet points because this epic plan that Rob had hatched to rebuild this cover dually is really what sets in motion this amazing timeline with this rig. Okay. Now, the rebuild was a closely guarded secret, which involved only those kind of on a need-to-know basis on the intel for the rebuild, okay? Now, if you think back and you download Podbean or you look back at our channel here, you know, we had Rob Maggi, the owner of MIC, the guy that owned this truck the first two times it was on the cover. We had Doug Starbuck on, the OG. He painted it when it was Westsyd. We had Van Diemen on. Van Diemen painted it. He did a lot of the work on it when it was became Krew Kut, right? I'm going to talk about how it got the Krew Kut name as well at the end or throughout this video. We've had every aspect. We recently had Donna Mahaney Patrick on. Thank you so much for coming on. The team, I'll talk a little bit about her. She was involved with the re-debut of it. So again, we've covered every aspect of this. And I want to kind of continue the story and say that Krew Kut, basically, I haven't been able to confirm, but it re-debuted in 99. We pretty much know that. And it was shot by Wes Allison. Okay. Now, Wes Allison is a 2024 Mini Truck Hall of Fame inductee. Reason being is Wes is the man. He has shot potentially over 1,000 covers. I could tell you he shot the most for Mini Truckin, but Wes was and is still the man. I do believe he's retired now. But when Wes shoots the redo of the truck, which is Krew Kut, that runs on August 99 cover. That's key because if you think about it, September 97 to August 99, that's not even 2 years. They rebuild this epic truck. They do a ton of mods to it, the front end swap, the total repaint. They cut the roof off. A lot of work done in less than 2 years. Re-debuts, boom, shot for the cover again, an epic cover, which, by the way, Wes Allison shot at Dockweiler, I believe is how you say it. You can see the oil rigs, I believe, a little bit off there, but just an epic background there. And tip of the cap for Wes in the past for chiming in on that to give us that intel. Now, as discussed, when we had Sean Mahaney on and Rob Maggi on OLP, this truck's rebuild was meant to throw everyone into kind of a head-scratching moment. The way the 8-lug full-size was rebuilt, most people didn't even know that it was the same truck. Now, my friends and I at the time, we would battle back and forth and discuss this topic because, and Sean even talked about this, rest in peace, Sean Mahaney, when Sean was on September, I believe, of 2017, we talked in depth about the how they went about changing some things on the motor, changing the door panels, doing these different things because Rob really wanted to go, hey, look, we're going to bring this truck back out, but we want everyone to think it's a totally different truck. And believe me, people still chime in today and say, wow, that you're telling me that was the same truck. There's no way. Wow, I never knew that. It's kind of an epiphany moment for some people, and it's pretty cool. Now, think about this for a moment. Again, like I said, September 97 cover all the way to August 99, right? Not even a 2-year span. Boom, it's back on the cover. Now, here's where the story gets even crazier, okay? Rob's MIC is hitting on all cylinders, right? So Master Image Customs is moving right along, right? They're on the rise. Street Trucks Mag, oh, by the way, debuts August 99, the same month that Krew Kut is on the cover of Truckin, okay? MIC pretty much seemingly begins advertising for the most part with that famed publication. Now, Rob hatches a plan with Steve Stillwell, and I'm sure, rest in peace to Steve, and I'm sure some of the marketing kinfolk there, I'm sure Courtney and Brian are all in the loop as well, at Street Trucks to exchange advertising dollars to grow his business, because he's a businessman, right? In exchange to give away his personal truck, Krew Kut, which I'm going to talk a little bit about the name at the very end on who came up with that name for those that don't know. It's a cool story. At California Truck Jamboree 2001. Okay. Krew Kut giveaway, that begins, if I remember correctly, I'm going to dig back at some of the publications, some of the mags, but I think it was early 2001. They really ramp up that advertising to say, hey, here's the little form in the magazine. Cut this out. You can submit as many as you want. The truck's going to be given away at Cal Truck Jam, which is California Truck Jamboree 2001, which is August, not the spring version, but the original Cal Truck Jam was every August, okay? Now, in August of 2001, the truck is given away, and somebody that we've had on the podcast, 20 years to the day, we had Heather Realmuto and her husband Joey, but Heather is the one that, the individual that won the truck, and I'm going to show you the footage right now of her winning said truck. Something that's really cool is 20 years ago, how this idea came about that you had that like you could maybe win this, because it was February of that year. Street Truck starts talking about this Krew Kut giveaway with Master Image Customs. Did you start seeing that and going, I'm going to win this? Like, how did that go down, Heather?
I actually did. I told Joey. I saw it in the magazine, and I said, you know what? I'm going to enter. And that show is just amazing to go to anyway. I mean, it's just great to be on the other coast.
So after she won it, we drove it back from the showground back to Rob's shop. And, dude, it was like on the 405. So you can imagine 12 lanes of traffic in this dually that's 82 inches wide. I had a little anxiety, right?
Right. There's that famous photo of Rob Maggi and you and, in Street Trucks, and it says Rob Maggi congratulates Heather, who obviously attended the event. Pretty cool. And what was awesome is when I shared that prior and I tagged Joey, Joey said, wow, I don't think I've ever seen that. And that's the cool thing that we love to do here at OLP. There's so much media content out there that some have never seen. Some of it's hard to find, but I really take pride in digging this stuff up, right? I'm bringing it to the forefront, right? So Krew Kut, at this point, they cut a deal with Rob and they say, hey, look, can we stow this thing away for about a month or two? Give us a little bit of time. And let's figure out a way to get it back because, oh, by the way, we live in Mississippi, okay? And you guys are out here in Cali, and we need to get this thing back, right? We flew out here. We're not looking to drive this thing home. It doesn't even have a top for those that don't know, right? It's truly a Krew Kut truck, okay? Now, after the truck was back home in Mississippi, they ordered a new vanity plate for it. And of course, that was called Eastsyd, EASTSYD. And that was a nod to the fact that, one, the truck is now out east in Mississippi, right? It's on the east side. And then, oh, by the way, the original name of the truck was Westsyd. So it kind of just fit, right? Now, they keep the truck in tip-top condition. As 2002 comes in, they bring it to shows, right? We see it in Greenville at Showfest. We see it at other events. Joey and Heather keep that thing obsessively clean, and they drive it around, and they have a darn good time. We used to love seeing it cruising in Greenville, okay? Now, Heather and Joey enjoy the truck, give or take a couple of years, all right? They decide, hey, we're going to sell it. What they end up doing is they make a phone call first to Rob and they say, "Hey, Rob, do you want the truck back?" And Rob says, "No, I'm good. You guys can do whatever you want with it, right? No hurt feelings. You guys want it. Heather, you want it. You enjoyed it. Do what you want with it. No problem at all," which I thought was super cool, right? So they end up selling it. And if I remember correctly, Brent from Brent Wheels ends up purchasing the truck. Okay. The line in the sand is probably late 2000, early 2003, because I happened to go to SEMA 2003. And oh, by the way, Brent had the rig there. It was outside. Now, the ironic thing was, I walked all around that show for the entire week, my first time out there. Number one, I was tired, but number two, never got to see it. So I'm going to show you a photo here from Brian at SoCal Customs, right? So he always had our back for that SEMA coverage. Now, Brent Wheels was kind of starting to gain a lot of momentum in the wheel business, okay? And the way I understood it was he bought this 8-lug dually to kind of be the showpiece at the helm of his new, of this brand, which was super cool. We started to see those wheels on various dualies, including him swapping out the wheels on Krew Kut. Now, various photos were posted of the truck, throughout the time. I remember in those early years after he had acquired it, we saw it at the coverage of SEMA 2003. And we would see some different photos pop up. And I think I learned over time that Insane Designs out in Texas, he was either good friends or knew Brent from Brent's Wheels. And he did post photos of the truck. I believe he worked on it. He also recently made a post on Instagram, and he kind of talked about some of the things that he did to help maintain the truck. And I think even at one point he was looking at purchasing the truck, or maybe working some plans out. And for whatever reason, whatever happened there, this truck ends up in a storage area. Okay, a storage building, a facility, if you will. It's kind of it's stowed away. Now, 10 to 15 years, give or take, maybe 12, 13 years, but let's just say about 15 years goes by and Krew Kut pops up on an episode of the Motor Trend hit TV show Fast and Loud, okay, featuring Aaron Kaufman and Gas Monkey Garage owner Richard Rawlings, all right? Now, Richard cuts a deal to purchase the custom truck and basically has the idea of, I'm going to store this away for a rainy day. It's part of the Gas Monkey fleet. We'll get to it. We'll do something cool with it. I'm sure some guys get in his ear. Hey, Richard, this is a super cool truck. West Coast cover. You should get it. I've seen varying numbers, but it looks like he purchases it less than 10,000. From what I've seen, that is not confirmed. Now, a few years goes by, and Sean Mahaney, again, rest in peace to Sean, the OG, he comes on OLP. He was aware of the plans, and I recall talking to him about it, that they were going to bring this truck back, right, and pretty much refurbish it. Sean talked about that a little bit on the show when we had him on. Now, Sean was sadly killed in a motorcycle accident when he was struck by an 18-wheeler going to a charity ride. The 18-wheeler never even stopped after striking the motorist. Sean was never able to see Krew Kut basically reborn. Now, remember, Sean was the lead fabricator at MIC, also known as Master Image Customs, and he's often the name that you will hear that coincides with the creation, again, which was owned by the owner of MIC, Rob Maggi. Now, Fast and Loud aired a 2-part episode in May of 2018 featuring the rebuild of Krew Kut during season 4. So you had episode 8, which was the base is back. Episode 9, the cutting with a C crew, the cutting crew. Now, the producer flew Sean Mahaney's wife, Donna Mahaney, now Donna Mahaney Patrick, out for the reveal, which we all felt like was an amazing honor and really was a nod to Sean. I'm sure the guys, the monkeys, if you will, in the in the shop there also said, hey, this would be a cool thing. She lost her husband, a little over 6 months ago. Let's do something nice for her. Whoever was involved, great job. I thought it was an amazing nod. Now, Gas Monkey crew, they knew, like I said, how much, this meant to really Sean in the general truck community. So I thought it was really cool, again, that they invited her out, but it was also great that they got in the ear of Richard to say, hey, And it may have even happened, I think, right, drawing back from my memory, it may have even happened around the time that Richard Rawlings or that Sean had passed away. Now, fast forward a month or so, and news broke that Dave Schulman, Acrophobia Club president, had struck a deal to purchase the truck, which he had sat in about 2 decades prior during a trip that he made out to the West Coast. Now, note, I'm going to share an image. The truck was on eBay for a moment. Many of us saw it there in early of June 2018. My screenshot at that time, it was going at a bid of $67,866. Now, I've heard some various folks say that when the bidding ended, I've heard people say that, the person that won it couldn't buy it. I don't know how much truth that is to it. If that was the case, it may have bought a little bit of time for Dave to strike a deal. Whatever happened. Dave flies out and he to Dallas, and he drives Krew Kut back east and lands in Biloxi, Mississippi, just in time to debut the truck as the new owner at, you guessed it, Scraping the Coast in June of 2018. I remember that because I had flown out, ironically, to Midlothian, Texas, and I went to a rad event, and then I drove overnight solo to Scraping the Coast, and I'll share a photo here of myself getting to see Krew Kut for the first time in a very, very long time. Now, stick with me a few more minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. Now, since then, Krew Kut ran on the cover of Truckin' for a third time. That was issue 13 in 2018. Don't ask me, but some of the years they had more than 12 issues. It's just the way it worked out. Now, Krew Kut really hit the big time when it was featured in the Logan Paul, Mike Tyson fight on Friday, November 15th, 2025, from Dallas, Texas. Jake Paul rolled out in the famed truck with Diesel Dave driving. The big time move helped really, to me, solidify Krew Kut as one of, if not the most famous truck ever to come out of our truck scene. And that's saying a lot. Now, you guys can chime in with your thoughts, but I've always argued that this is one of the most famous trucks ever, and now it's even more famous. Think about this for a moment. 3 covers, 4 cover appearances, which I'm going to mention in a moment. 2 shirts. So you had Gas Monkey also featured it on their apparel. You also had Hammer Weekend Wear on their apparel. Now, I'm going to turn my light on for a second as my eyes get adjusted, and I wanted to make sure I did this so I didn't forget. I almost, this is a NOS, new old stock. Party like it's 1999 hoodie. And I say that because Hammered Weekend Wear, they featured it on their merchandise several years back. That was even before, if I recall, that was before Richard Rawlings and the Gas Monkey crew rolled out their apparel. It was also on a 2-part TV show, as I mentioned, which was Fast and Loud. And it was on Netflix's first ever live sporting event, which was streamed around the world. Now, according to CBS News, more than 60 million households around the globe tuned in to watch the much-touted boxing match. And I'm quoting this, between retired boxing legend Mike Tyson and social media star Jake Paul. According to Netflix, again, quote, it was a record-breaking night for Netflix, peaking at 65 million concurrent streams, Netflix stated Saturday in a news release. Just insane. The fight was You may have liked it, you may have hated it, but I can assure you the big winner as it relates to the truck scene was Dave Schulman and the beloved Krew Kut. So, however that deal came about, I'd love to talk to Dave about it. Super cool. You guys can say what you want. I'll have one comment on the main hot topic here as I wind this down right now. But it is what it is. And I think it was really, really cool. I understand there's some folks that are saying, hey, were they really, jumping in and out of the truck and things like that? I don't know what to say. I wasn't there. I can only tell you what I saw on TV. Now, here's a couple of little known facts. I've got 3 for you, and then I have my closing thought. Westsyd, again, I believe was a 93 Chevy Crew Cab Dually. In the feature, September of 97. It does say it's a 97, but I think that kind of just tied in to the overall story. Westsyd also appeared on the Sport Truck October 97 issue as an insert photo on the cover for show coverage. Now, during the period I was putting this video together, it dawned on me that Krew Kut also appeared on All Time Low magazine issue 27, which was February 2021. And many of you will recall this, and you can see right here Dave in the red shirt standing next to Krew Kut. Pretty awesome. So that's 5 covers that we know that it appeared on, including the 3 features, as well as the Sport Truck issue I mentioned, and this All Time Low, which again, it was kind of a centerpiece at that group photo. Pretty awesome. Yeah, it wasn't a cover feature, but when it was Westsyd, it did appear on a Sport Truck cover. Now, if there's any other covers or even obscure publications that you're aware of that you know that it may have appeared on, let me know. That makes 4 as far as I know. You have the 3 covers, because let's not forget, John Jackson, Not Stock Photography, shoots the truck again, and it appears on the cover in 2018, which was super cool. It was shot right there at Gas Monkey Garage. I think John was probably there when they debuted it, maybe for the principal photography, and that was super cool. Krew Kut, as I mentioned, appears on a Hammered Weekend Wear shirt, Party Like It's 1999. That was a nod to the fact that it was on the cover of Truckin' 1999. Now, my closing thought is this. Yes, the announcer did get the build information wrong on the streaming event. Is it called a broadcast or a streamcast? I don't know. Although it was refreshed and rebuilt by Gas Monkey Garage for a Fast and Loud 2-part episode, we all know in the truck community it was built by Master Image Customs and the talented team under the leadership of Rob Maggi, and again, primary fabricator Sean Mahaney, rest in peace. My final thought is this. Again, the big winner was Krew Kut. The big winner was Dave Schulman, tip of the cap. I think it was super cool. I wanted to kind of give you guys the main breakdown. If there's anything that I missed, let me know. My thought is this. You know how TV is. If anybody thinks the majority of TV isn't maybe real or isn't maybe scripted or whatever, I could tell you this. They don't always get things right. And I guarantee one of the people had to Google and they go, here's 5 things about this truck. It's adjustable suspension. Yes. Custom paint. Yes, absolutely. Gas Monkey Garage. Well, someone Googled, they saw there was a 2-part episode and they saw them building something, whether it was rebuilding, refreshing, whatever you want to call it. That's what they saw. And that got on the flashcard and that was given to said person, and said person read it. Yes, everybody in our truck scene, if you know anything about this, yeah, you're passionate about it. You chime in, there's all this discussion. But again, at the end of the day, the winner is Dave. Dave owns this truck. I think it elevates the status of this truck, if you could ever imagine it being elevated more. And I think it's super cool. So I'm happy for Dave and the family. I'm also thankful to the Fast and Loud TV show crew, which was Gas Monkey, of course, on the backside, to Richard Rawlings for putting the money out there, but then also that crew that really kind of with kit gloves. They handled it with kit gloves. That's what I wanted to say. They handled this with kit gloves. They did there's going to be people that don't like the interior. There's going to be people that love it. I think it's cool. I got to ride in the truck for the first time this year. I was never one to really kind of jump in it when he's cruising up and down. But this year I had my buddy Chris all the way from Germany coming to the U.S. And I said, hey, Dave, could you give us a ride? My buddy Chris is here. And Chris had a smile from ear to ear. And I did too in Maggie Valley at Mini Nats. It was so awesome. That truck brings a lot of joy to people. And it's really cool that Gas Monkey and them did that. And it's really cool that Rob Maggi gave it away in August of 2001. It was super cool that Heather and Joey told their story on OLP. Again, Doug Starbuck, Van Diemen, Donna Mahaney, Patrick, Sean Mahaney as well, and so many others have chimed in over this one. You can check out the hashtag Krew Kut. My last fact for you is this. Who came up with the name Krew Kut? None other than Lance Martz. The story, the legend goes that Lance, and I talked to him at the Mini Truck Hall of Fame just over a year ago, and he reiterated what I had heard. He said, hey, ODB, you know who came up with the name Krew Kut? And I kind of nodded. I knew what he was going to say. He goes, that was something I came up with. We should have called it that. And I was like, awesome. And if I remember correctly, that's what Lance said, and that's what I remember. So if anybody wants to chime in on that differently, you can, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for the support. Tip of the cap, and thanks to Scraping the Coast for all the support and all of our sponsors. We'll hit you guys next week or maybe in 2 weeks. If we don't talk again, have a happy Thanksgiving. Much love, everyone. Liquid Death Murderers. You know how we do. Peace. We got you.